What's up, fight fans? NEF 47 is this coming Saturday, May the 14th in Auburn. It's NEF 47 Battle of Lewiston, Auburn. And right now I have the head coach and owner of Vision Quest Muay Thai, Primo Bellarosa, back on the show to help us dive in to this exciting event. Primo, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing, Ryan? It's good to be back.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to see you down there in the southern part of the state. It's just a few short days away from now. We're going to get into all of that. Plenty of topics to dissect here on today's interview. But first, I wanted to ask you, did you watch UFC 274 last night? And if you did, what is your takeaway on Charles Oliveira? How damn good is this guy?
Dude, he's probably of the modern active fighters, probably the most complete fighter. It would be my guess. Maybe up there in the most complete fighter of all time, potentially. But I know for a fact that in the modern active fighters category, he has to be your most complete fighter. I think. Like, man, he's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and he just seems to keep getting better and better. And this is a guy that's been around for a long time now, and he's just hitting his stride right now. And he's not just beating guys, he's dispatching of them and finishing the best of the best. So my question for you is this. Do you think, like, let's say hypothetically Khabib comes back, who wins that fight, Khabib or Oliveira?
Good God. I have to go with Khabib on it. I just think that if hypothetically speaking, if Khabib can come back, he's going to need to come back with the exact same attitude that he had throughout his entire career. Based on that, I think Khabib is damn near unbeatable. He just has, obviously an incredible level of talent. But really what sets him apart is his just absolute belief in himself that he's not that he can win, but that he's supposed to win, And I think that, man, that's the thing. If you have the skill levels and the skill levels are at or about equal, that's the deciding factor for me, and I think that Oliveira is a legitimate champion. I think he's an incredible fighter, but I think at the end of the day, he won't be able to deal with that from Khabib.
Okay, I'm going to take Kamaru Usman out of the equation right now because Usman and Khabib are friends from what I understand. But the rumored fight for a while was GSP and Khabib. George is 40 now, so his athletic prime is in the rearview mirror. But prime GSP versus prime Khabib, who wins that one?
Man, again, I got to go with prime Khabib because, and I know this is probably a tough one for you to hear because I know your GSP is your all-time favorite.
That's my guy.
Do it. I don't think George St. Pierre is a fighter. I think he's a competitor. There's two different things there. I think he has such a high degree of desire to compete and win. That's what made him a good fighter. But I think at the end of the day, Khabib is actually a fighter. And with the skill set that he has, I think that he takes it to GSP.
Okay, fair enough. I see where you're going with that. George is more of like he's kind of like an old school guy, someone that got into it for the craft, and Khabib seems like one of those guys that just is born to want to see blood on his opponent's face.
I think so. I think that's it exactly. I think if you go all the way back to the St. Pierre Matt Serra fight, the one that he lost, he tapped from getting hit in that fight. If you watch very closely, that was not a ref stop. That he tapped from being hit. And don't get me wrong, he was getting hit hard. And Sarah was all over him, but that's an indicator to me. Now, he's such an incredible athlete and such an incredible competitor that he could override that for every fight afterwards. But that moment was a chink, to me, is a chink in the armor.
Have you ever met Matt Sayre? Have you ever shook his hands?
Oh, quite a bit, quite a bit. Yeah, I know Matt decently from being around New York.
Yeah, he literally, it's like grabbing a fistful of bananas. His hands are
Yeah,
so big, it's just mind-boggling. When he closes his hand to make a fist, I can't even fathom what it would be like to get hit by that.
it's the weirdest thing because he's like, I mean, he's a midget.
I know.
You know what I mean? He's like 5'5", 5'6", for God's sake, but he is not built like he's that size. It's the wildest thing.
It really is. Well, I appreciate you diving into a little bit of that. What a great event last night. But I know the people that are tuning in are here to talk about this upcoming NEF card, and obviously you have Ryan Sanders on the card, he's taking on Mark Gardner. Before we dive into that, I do want to talk a little bit about Josh Harvey. Obviously, he fought Adley Edwards most recently. That one didn't go his way. You guys traveled all the way to New Orleans for this XMMA 4 card. Break this one down for me, Primo. What's the takeaway? What happened here in this one that didn't? This is the reason why it didn't go Josh's way.
Yeah, I mean, he lost. Obviously, he missed weight. People are going to talk about that. Um, you got to do the work. I mean, making weight is about doing the work and making the right decisions. As a coach, all I can do is present what the right things to do are and what the right decisions would be, right? Like everybody's got a mama, and I ain't nobody's mama. So unless you live with me and I spoon feed you, all I can do is write out what should get done. And if it doesn't get done, that's unfortunately it reflects on me and my team. And it really has very little to do with me and my team as far as making weight. I'll say this. I have not taken part in Josh's weight cuts for his last 2 fights. Because the fights before that, it was getting to a point where he didn't want to listen to what I was saying needed to get done in order to make the weight. So I decided, and I talked to him about it and said, look, I'm not going to bang my head against the wall here. I'm not going to care deeply about your weight cut and then not be listened to. So you're on your own on your weight cut. I'm still obviously going to do my jobs as a coach and run your training camp and get you ready for fights, and corner you, and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to weigh you in, every day, every other day. I'm not going to ask you what you're eating. I'm not going to sit in the sauna with you so that you can do it if you're not going to listen to me and do the things that I say. And so I haven't taken part in that in 2 camps, and I think we see the results. I think Josh understands at this point he has to fight at 55. We've kind of talked about that a little bit, and he just can't make 45. And part of why he can't make 45 is because he's not willing to make the decisions that he needs to make 45. So 55 it is. As far as the fight goes with Adley, again, you gotta perform. You know what I mean? You can't you got to go out and do the things that you do, the things that you practice, and fight the way that you practice every day and the way that it's set into your head. And if you don't do that, you lose. Any given day, half of us got to win and half of us got to lose, right? In any fight. So, Adley fought a great fight, and Josh didn't do the things that he had been training and the things that he's expected to do. And so he came out on the losing end of it. I think that he was recovered from the weight cut. The truth of it is he missed weight, but he did lose a lot of weight. I think that he was recouped physically. I don't think that he was recouped mentally from the, disappointment of missing weight and obviously feeling bad for that and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think that he was necessarily mentally recouped for the fight. But that's how it goes. Adley's an excellent fighter. I think that I think Josh, that if you look at that fight that Adley had with Pico right afterwards, I think Josh has the ability to do. He has the same attributes that a Pico has. very good wrestling, strong forward pressure, hard punches. And I think that Josh, when I looked at that fight initially, I thought that Josh would have the ability to kind of do what Pico did. Maybe not at the level that Pico did, but that would have been the game plan there. Unfortunately, Josh went out and wasn't able to institute that.
I want to get back to the weight issue here in a second, but first, just to follow up on what you're saying about this matchup with Adley, I think the thing from, my point of view from watching Josh fight for a long time, I'm not used to, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, I'm not used to seeing him get beat like that, right? Like no one's ever beat him like that before. So is this a case where I think based on what you just said, you feel like Josh Harvey at his best can compete and maybe beat Adley if they fought again? This was just a situation where there were a lot of things kind of working against him, and mentally maybe he wasn't where he needed to be to perform his best.
Yeah, I think so. Here's the thing. If you fight enough, you will inevitably have a fight or a number of fights that you feel like the fight is happening around you instead of with you. You know what I mean? Like you're an observer of the fight rather than a participant of the fight. And all I can say, I've had a lot of fights. I've coached a lot of guys that fought, and I know that it happens. You hope that it doesn't happen very often. But I knew a guy, really good Muay Thai fighter, and he had a fight like that he should have gone out and probably should have won, definitely should have performed, and he didn't. And he came back, and the guy's super experienced. And I said, hey, are you okay, man? Everything's all right? And he said, that happens to me about once a year. And I said, what? He goes, well, I fight 6 or 7 times a year in Muay Thai. And that happens about once a year to me, that I just go out there and the fight happens around me. And I can't seem to get ahead of the pace of the fight to catch myself back up to it. And it had happened to him enough times through enough years, and where he was like, that happens. It's out of the way. I've still got 6 months left in the year, so I should be fine for the rest of my fights this year. But he just figured it happened at least once a year to him,
So how was Josh's mental? Like after this fight, like was he down? Was he in a positive?
Yeah, obviously he was disappointed. You have to be. I mean, I had an old wrestling coach that used to say to me, find me a good loser or show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. And, winning's not everything, but it is everything, right? Like, if you take a loss and you don't feel bad about it, then maybe you shouldn't be fighting. Mm-hmm. So, he obviously felt bad about the loss. Career-wise, it's a setback. It's a setback because of the second weight miss. And it's a setback as far as his record. It's a setback as far as now he has to fight at 55. So he's got to kind of prove himself at that. So, he took it pretty hard. It's not easy. But at the end of the day too, and I don't just say this to Josh, I say it to all my fighters, like, you should take it hard. You should take a loss hard. You should take not performing hard. You should take not making weight hard, because that means that it means something to you. Now take it hard and internalize it and get back in the room and start making the changes and make it better,
No, and I'll just get right. It's weird for me talking about weight and everything, because Josh is carved out of stone, and I'm right now currently made out of a little bit of pizza dough, but I'm working on it. So, but you know what I mean? Like, so it's hard for these guys to cut that much weight. Like there's so much sacrifice that goes into it. And Josh is such a big guy. And I've been interviewing him for a while now. And, he's kind of dodged and ducked the question when I've asked him, what are you walking around at? But I think all of us know, like, it's got to be somewhere around 190. So for him to cut all the way down to 145, I can't imagine what that's doing to his body.
It beats on you. Yeah. And the thing is, like, and I've said to Josh, and I've said, the same thing to any of my fighters. You want to fight at 45, you need to walk around between 65 and 70. That's where you need to be walking around. You want to fight at 170, you need to be walking around between 80 and 85. That just is the way it goes. If it was a Muay Thai fighter, I'd be telling them they need to be walking around 10 pounds away, not 15.
So how good can Josh be at 55? Do you feel like we're still going to be able to see a high level Josh Harvey at lightweight versus featherweight, or is there just
I think so. I think so. I mean, because the truth of it is, he's the same size as those guys. You know what I mean? Like, he's walking around at the same weight as those guys that are fighting at 55. If he cuts down to 55 and then puts weight back on between weigh-ins and fight time, he's going to be the same weight as the guys that are fighting at 55.
Okay. I ran into you, Primo.
He's going to have to convince himself that he can compete at that weight.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But as a coach, I think he has the attributes, the skill level, the size, and the strength to compete at that weight.
I was just going to say, I ran into you in the parking lot outside of the Aura nightclub before NEF 45. And that was the big win that he had over Brandau. And he missed weight there in that one. And I know you weren't happy. You were not happy that he missed weight by 10 pounds. And then it happened here with this fight with Adley. Can you point towards something in particular as to what happened where he wasn't, I mean, because 10 pounds, that's a big miss. Is there something specific as to what happened where he wasn't closer?
Not like he was against Brandau, I was not in the sauna with him. I was not at weigh-ins with him. Against Adley, I was there because that was in another state and I'm the only guy there. So I'm gonna go to the sauna with you. First of all, you got to do the right things, any fighter. You've got to do the right things outside of camp, outside of training. You know what I mean? You're in camp even when you're not in camp. That's really what it comes down to, especially when you get to that level. That's what I had to do. I fought my entire amateur career at 45. I walked around at 55, 57. Went to the world championships, got beat by the eventual world champion who was 6'2". I'm not 6'2". And so I came back and my coach said to me, like, look, you've got to drop down to 35. You're going to have to take some time and acclimate your body to a lower walk around weight so that you can now make 35. And that's what I did. I took 6 months, didn't fight, still trained, concentrated on my diet, but not like crash dieting to get my weight down. Concentrated on having a steady diet that got me down to the weight that I could then make the cut. And it basically meant that I was on fight camp diet all the time. Not necessarily on cutting weight diet, but on a fight camp diet all the time. And that just is what it is. It's how it has to be for some fighters in order to be able to make the weight class that they want. You can't do it, you can't make the weight class.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good enough. Well, I mean, I know I could speak for, I got to imagine the rest of the NEF fans. We're excited to see Josh back in action at 55, whenever that may be. Can you just kind of forecast this in the future? When do you anticipate him to be back fighting and now at 155?
I'm not exactly sure right now. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of summer activities going on, things that he's, between work and things like that he's straightening out. So, we'll see what pops up. We'll see what his manager sends our way. I guess if I had to put a time on it, I'd say maybe end of summer.
Okay.
But he's in the gym training. He's obviously helping out with Ryan's camp. So he's working hard. Just kind of depends on what pops up for us.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, let's stick with the weight issue, but let's transition to Ryan, because Ryan Sanders for the longest time was just maybe the best lightweight in all of New England, right? And early on in his career, when you look at the losses that he suffered, it's at welterweight, and so his record was 9-1 or 10-1 at lightweight, and most of his losses are at 170. And now he's a little bit older, and he's made it crystal clear he can't make 155 anymore. So welterweight it is moving forward. Tell me, how Ryan's looking in camp. How do you feel he's going to be at this stage of his career at 170 versus, maybe when he was younger fighting at 170?
Right. Obviously he can't do 55. He's a big kid. And I saw him when he was making 55, and he looked like death warmed over. It's got to be 170, and the truth of it is, he's cutting down to 170. He's that big. He's a big, strong kid. And as you get older, it gets harder and harder to cut the weight. He'll make 170. He's gonna have to work to do it, but he'll make 170. As far as training goes, man, he's a killer. I mean, we all know that. We've all seen Ryan Sanders fight. But he's an excellent guy to just have in the room. He's here every day, no bullshitting. He's the first one in the gym. You know what I mean? Like he has a key to the gym because he does some privates and stuff. And 9 times out of 10, he beats me to the gym in the morning. He's already here. He's already got the heat on. So the gym warms up and he's already, stretching out. And he's on the roller, he's on the physio ball, getting himself ready for training and getting his head right. And that's what you want as a coach. Obviously, you want. I mean, if you could have a whole team of guys that were showing up before you and like ready to go, that's pretty awesome. So he's kid's a treat to have in the gym. He's there. He's a yes coach kind of athlete. You tell him to do something, yes coach. No other questions about what you're trying to tell him to do. If he asks a question, it's a technical question. It's just him saying, what you want me to do is this. I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. Not, I don't think I should do that. I don't think that'll work for me. It's just it's a yes coach, and he's automatically trying to work it. If I tell him something that I want him to be doing or how I want him to be doing something, and then he spars or he's grappling and he doesn't do it, he immediately is like looking at me going, I know you said do it. I'm going to get it next time. I forgot this. You know what I mean? So he remembers things and he's on it. He has a real desire to learn, and a real desire to learn what the coach is trying to impart on him,
And Ryan, he's such an interesting case because he's someone that everyone in New England knows just how good he is, right? And he had that opportunity in Bellator with Michael Page, and obviously that went how it went, right? But this is someone that has the skill set to fight at that next level, and he's 33 now. Do you feel that he's going to get there, or do you think he's going to end the rest of his career here regionally, which I know is not what he wants?
No, I think he definitely has a chance. I mean, here's the thing: at his age, it's time to shit or get off the pot, right? Like, let's just be honest. The key, and there's offers all the time that are crappy offers. Hey, Bellator's coming to Connecticut and it's next week, and we'd like you to fight a guy that you shouldn't step into the ring with.
Yeah, you get Logan Storley on 4 days' notice.
Yeah, exactly. Four days notice, and it's at 185, not 170, and it's against the number 3 ranked guy. The pay's decent, and it's on Bellator. Yeah, thanks, great. I appreciate that. You've got to be, for Ryan's age and Ryan's record, where it stands right now, you have to be ready to take advantage of opportunities, but you can't be so eager to take advantage of opportunities that you're just letting yourself get thrown to the wolves. You know what I mean? So, we've been working together for 6-8 months. In that 6-8 months, I mean, how many phone calls do I field or messages? Oh, I heard Ryan's back training. I got an offer for him, and it's dog shit. This is a good fight. This NEF fight, this local regional show for him, for him to kind of try to kick the dust off. Him and I as coach and fighter to get our first outing and try to be able to communicate. There's a lot of things happening there that you can't just go, wow, this guy's awesome. Oh, and Bellator wants us to fight tomorrow. Let's go do that.
Right.
For
sure. And Mark Gardner, I mean, talk about a tricky fight. This guy's legit. I mean,
he is.
And that last fight that he had against Nick Alley to go through that adversity and end up getting the win the way he did. I mean,
well, I mean, here's the thing, like, you know, record wise, experience wise, that's a jump up for Pockets, fighting Alley. And then, like you said, like, that was a hard fight for both guys. That was a hard, like, knockdown, drag out fight. And, you know, he stuck around and got his opportunity to turn it on and win. And he did. Like, dude's a stud.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I cannot wait for this fight. I am so geeked up, ready to be there cage side doing the commentary. So break this down for me, Primo, stylistically. All right. This is such an interesting matchup. Ryan's so well-rounded. Gardner is so darn good on the ground. So how do you feel like this fight is going to play out when you look at it in your mind? How's this going to shake out?
I mean, you know, the truth of it is, I think Ryan wins the fight, whether it's standing or on the ground. I think that, I think standing, Ryan is the more refined striker. But you know, that being said, Pockets hits hard, like really hard. And it's not some, like, you know, big, you know, chucking baseballs kind of punching. Like, you know, he's got decent technique standing. He's not afraid to get hit, and he can hit hard. He's dangerous in the stand-up. On the ground, like I said, I still think Ryan wins it on the ground, whether that be by submission or ground and pound. But again, Pockets is dangerous on the ground. He's not an easy fight for anybody. And I think that anybody that you know, looks at his record and goes, oh, 2-2, whatever, like, the dude's legit, he's tough, and none of us take fights that we think we're going to lose. We all take fights that we think we're going to win, right? So I'm sitting here saying why I think Ryan's going to win, and we wouldn't have taken the fight if we didn't think we could beat the guy. But, you know, the other side of that coin is him and his coach and his team wouldn't have taken the fight if they didn't think they could beat Ryan too, right? So you know, they're working hard. They're coming ready to beat Ryan up and win that fight. I think he might have bit off a little bit more than he can chew at this point in his career. Now, Ryan's been out for a while, so we're going to see did he bite off more than he can chew, because, you know, Ryan's going to have to shake off some ring rust.
Do you feel like this fight goes to the judges, Primo, or do you think Ryan gets him out of there?
Wow. I'll be honest with you, I haven't really thought about it like that. I think that Ryan has the ability to take him out standing. I think that Ryan has the ability to take him out on the ground. And I think Ryan has the desire to take fighters out. You know, that's one of the key things for that I look for in a fighter, and Ryan's got that. Like he wants to hurt you. He wants to show that he's better and dominant. You know, I have to dial him back in training sometimes and be like, you know, just kind of walk by him and be like, hey, don't forget that's one of your training partners. That's a teammate. You know, because he wants to show that he's the best.
Right.
So I just think Ryan wins the fight. You know, I don't try to put that kind of thought or pressure on my fighters where I say, oh man, you know, you're going to hit him with this right overhand and he's going to go down and that's going to be the end of it. Or, man, we're going to need to get this to the ground. But once you get it to the ground, you'll be able to go through him like butter, and you'll get the rear naked choke because he'll flip over and give it to you. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't try to analyze that deeply into the opponent, and I don't try to put that kind of analytic pressure on my fighters.
If Ryan gets this win and he does it in impressive fashion, will his next fight be regionally? Will it be for NEF or another regional promotion? Or do you feel like it's going to be on a higher level, a higher stage for
we'll see what pops up. You know what I mean? I think that if Ryan wins this fight, not a lot will change about the messages that I get for fights. You know what I mean? I'm still gonna get the, hey, we got this fight, you know, blah 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 blah. Yeah, you want us to, you know, come to your town and fight the toughest guy you got with your judges, and maybe that's not a great idea. And I also think that, you know, he'll win this fight, and NEF would love to put us on the next show. You know, so I don't think the options change that drastically. I think our ability as a coach and a fighter, our ability to maybe take advantage of some of those options changes. Whereas, like I said, right now we're looking at it like, this is the fight that we want. This is the fight that's on the table. Let's get through this. Let's get through this training camp. Let's get through this back room and warm up and cornering process as a coach and a trainer, and get communicated. You know what I mean? Because, it all comes out in the wash, right? Like we can do great in here, and then you get under the lights and things go bad. So, we need that opportunity to be working to make sure that everything we've been working on is the right stuff, and he's doing it.
I cannot wait to see him back in action again, May the 14th, this coming Saturday, NEF 47. Primo, I understand you also have another fighter on this card. Tell me a little bit about how he's looking in this upcoming matchup.
Yeah, I got another tough kid on the card, Julian Sorios. He came to me probably about 6-8 months ago. And originally he wanted to box, which is fine. I'll train somebody to box, take him out and get him in boxing matches. That's cool. But I got talking to the kid, and he's a good wrestler. And we got talking a little bit. I wrestled in high school and college, and I got talking to him, and he was saying some of the right things as far as what tournaments he was in and how he placed and things like that. And in the back of my head, I was like, all right, cool. We'll get this kid boxing a little bit, and then I'll get him fighting MMA. And so he started seeing the guys grappling, and he wanted to get involved a little bit in that. And one thing led to another, and then he wanted to fight MMA, of course. And so hard worker. Fight's going to be at 140. It's his first fight. So we agreed upon a catch weight. Like ideally, I'd like him to get down to 135. I think that that's his stature. That he'll be real good at 35. But for his first cut down, we just kind of decided, we said to Matt Peterson, look, if we can get a fight between 35 and 40, that's cool. Peterson came back, said they had an opponent, that they wanted 140. That was great. So we signed him up. But the kid he hits hard. He's a stud wrestler. And he wants to win. So I think it's going to be a really great coming out party for him.
Can't wait, man. I wish there were more Vision Quest Muay Thai fighters on this card, but I'm sure here at NEF 48 and other events, we're going to see more of your fighters in action here moving forward. Real quick, Primo, too, just give me a quick little prediction for this main event. Former friends and coach versus pupil, Jesse Erickson, Matt Denning. Who wins this one?
I got to go with Jesse Erickson. I know both guys. I don't know if they or I would say we're friends, but I think we're friendly. I know both guys. I like both guys. Just strictly looking at skill sets, I have to go with Jesse Erickson on this one. Never mind the whole teacher, student, bad blood, blah, blah, blah. I just think that Jesse's skill set is higher. And I think that Jesse has the desire to win more in this fight.
Okay. Well, I can't wait for that fight too. This really is a great card, top to bottom, NEF 47. Primo, it's always great talking to you, my friend. Can't wait to see you down at the Norway Savings Bank Arena in Auburn, Maine next Saturday. Before I let you go, man, plug your gym. Tell people where to find you. And if you have anyone to thank, floor is yours.
Cool, man. Vision Quest Muay Thai. We are in Newport, Maine. Exit 157 off the highway. Swing through. Full service gym. We've got, Muay Thai. We've got grappling. We've got boxing. We've got some fitness classes, kids classes. I think we got a pretty good deal going here. Good family atmosphere. Everybody enjoys themselves. Everybody learns. Everybody works hard. So VisionQuestMuayThai.com. Same thing on Facebook and Instagram, Vision Quest Muay Thai. Shoot me a message and swing in. Everybody gets a free class. See if you like it. Other than that, can't wait for NEF this coming weekend. It's going to be a fun time. Looking forward to seeing you there.